An army? With what weapons? Have they started throwing sheep at people?
Imagine standing on a rocky mountain with nothing but a wooden farming club in your hands. Down in the valley, the most ruthless general in the world is lining up his army. 900 massive, iron-plated chariots. For decades, this unstoppable war machine has crushed the Israelites. They don't have a single sword. They don't have a shield. A charge against them looks like absolute military suicide. But God is about to do the impossible. He isn't going to send a bigger army to save the day. The secret to shattering this iron empire begins with a fearless judge sitting under a palm tree and ends miles away in a quiet tent with a lone woman gripping a heavy wooden mallet and a single iron peg. If these stories connect with you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us bring more of these biblical epics to life. Now, let's begin.
Are you insane? Let it go! We have to fight back! They took our entire harvest again! If Sisera's patrols catch you trying to forge a weapon, they will burn this entire village. We don't even have a single sword! And we won't have our lives if those chariots roll over that ridge. Bury it! Now!
This is the terrifying reality of living in Israel. For 20 years, King Jabin of Canaan has held the entire nation hostage from his distant throne in Hazor. But he enforces his brutal rule through a man named Sisera. Sisera commands a fleet of 900 of these iron chariots. In an era of wooden clubs, an iron chariot is an unstoppable tank. King Jabin has systematically banned blacksmiths and stripped the Israelites of all their weapons. There are no swords. There are no shields. But this brutal oppression is not a historical accident. It is the devastating price of a repeated cycle. After the death of their previous deliverer, a judge named Ehud, the people of Israel grew completely complacent. They turned their backs on the Lord and began to worship the false gods of the Canaanites, believing these idols would bring them rain and fertile crops. In his righteousness, God allowed King Jabin to conquer them as a massive wake-up call. Now, after 2 decades of suffering under these chariots, the broken people of Israel are finally crying out to heaven for a rescue. God hears their cry. But his answer is not a towering, muscular warrior. It is her. This is Deborah. Unlike the cruel Canaanite kings who rule from behind powerful fortress walls, the judges of ancient Israel are not crowned royalty. They are chosen directly by God to lead, guide, and speak absolute truth to the nation. Deborah holds court right out in the open, under a massive palm tree. Day after day, the people travel from all over the country to seek her counsel. She has something incredibly rare for this dark era: unshakable faith and a direct line to God's voice.
He stole my family's sheep!
Your sheep were eating my crops!
Both of you, breathe. Return the sheep before sunset and pay her back for the grain with 2 jars of oil. We have enough problems right now without starting a war over a snack. Next case.
Deborah knows that settling local disputes won't save the country. The ticking clock is running out. King Jabin's patrols are getting closer. But Deborah is also a prophetess. And the word of the Lord has just given her a highly specific extremely dangerous battle plan for Israel's deliverance. She summons her top military commander, a man named Barak, and delivers the exact words of God.
The Lord, the God of Israel, commands you, go. Take with you 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun and lead them up to Mount Tabor.
She has the strategy. She just needs Barak to lead the army. But there is one massive, terrifying problem. How do you convince a seasoned general to lead 10,000 men into battle against iron chariots when your army doesn't own a single sword? Barak arrives at the palm tree, covered in the dust of the road. He is a highly capable leader, but he is completely exhausted. The plan Deborah has just handed him sounds like absolute military suicide.
You want me to march 10,000 farmers up Mount Tabor?
God wants you to march them up Mount Tabor.
Mount Tabor is a rock surrounded by the Jezreel Valley. It is a massive, completely flat dirt plain. If we go up the mountain, eventually we have to come down.
God said he will lure Sisera to the Kishon River at the base of the mountain.
The Kishon River is a dry ditch right now. Sisera will have a perfectly flat dirt highway to run us over. He has 900 iron chariots. We have walking sticks.
Barak draws a hard line in the sand. He is willing to risk his life, but he refuses to carry the spiritual burden of this impossible battle alone. He needs the troops to see the woman who speaks for God standing right there in the dirt with them.
If you go with me, I will go. But if you don't go with me, I won't go.
This is a massive breach of protocol. Judges hold court. They do not march into active war zones, especially unarmed women. Will the judge leave the safety of her palm tree to step onto a battlefield? Deborah does not hesitate. She agrees to march to the front lines. But her agreement comes with a highly specific warning. In the ancient world, the ultimate goal of any general is the historical glory of defeating the enemy commander. Because Barak hesitated, he is about to permanently lose that honor.
Certainly I will go with you, but because of the course you are taking, the honor will not be yours, for the Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman.
Wait. You are going to fight Sisera?
Barak automatically assumes Deborah is talking about herself. He has no idea how incredibly wrong he is. When the odds are completely stacked against you, do you have the courage to step forward? If you believe God fights for you, type "I will go" in the comments below. Word spreads fast. 10,000 farmers drop their plows, grab heavy walking sticks, and follow Deborah up the steep slopes of Mount Tabor. They lock down the high ground. Now, they just have to wait for 900 iron tanks to arrive. Word travels incredibly fast in the ancient world. It does not take long for King Jabin's intelligence network to spot 10,000 Israelites massing on a mountain. A scout races to the Canaanite military headquarters in Harosheth Hagoyim to deliver the news directly to Commander Sisera.
Commander, Barak has gathered a massive army on Mount Tabor. They are locking down the high ground.
An army? With what weapons? Have they started throwing sheep at people?
They are armed with farming clubs, sir, and rocks. But there are 10,000 of them.
Sisera is absolutely thrilled. He has spent 20 years chasing scattered Israelites through narrow, rocky ravines and dense forests where his heavy chariots cannot easily maneuver. Now, Barak has conveniently gathered all the able-bodied men of Israel into one single location. And better yet, to escape the mountain, Barak must cross the valley floor directly next to the Kishon River. Right now, the Kishon is completely dry. It is nothing but a wide, shallow trench of hard-packed dirt. To Sisera, this isn't a battlefield. It is the absolute perfect, paved highway for heavy iron wheels. He does not hesitate to issue the ultimate order. Sisera summoned from Harosheth Hagoyim to the Kishon River, all his men and his 900 chariots fitted with iron. Sisera deploys his entire elite force. The rumble of their approach can be heard from miles away. Up on Mount Tabor, the Israelite militia can literally feel the vibration in the rocks beneath their feet. They grip their wooden walking sticks, their knuckles turning white. The psychological warfare is deafening. They look down into the valley and see a massive, terrifying sea of glinting metal stretching across the entire horizon. Sisera's forces line up perfectly along the dry riverbed, completely cutting off any possible escape route. The trap is officially set. Sisera has the superior position, the superior weapons, and the absolute advantage of terror. He looks up at the mountain, fully expecting the Israelites to surrender out of pure fear. He does not realize he has driven his invincible army directly into the exact spot God wanted them. Down in the valley, Commander Sisera stands proudly in his led chariot. He is the picture of supreme military arrogance. He believes that power only comes from what you can physically see and touch. He trusts his heavy iron. He trusts his armored horses. And he completely dismisses the God of Israel.
Look at them! Hiding on the rocks like frightened little birds. They brought a palm tree judge to fight an iron commander. What are they gonna do? Throw coconuts at my wheels?
Sisera struts back and forth in his chariot, boasting loudly to his officers. He believes this is not even a real battle. It is an execution. He knows that basic human psychology dictates Barak will never order his men to charge a defensive wall of spiked chariots. But up on the mountain, Deborah is not looking down at the terrifying iron chariots. She is looking straight up at the sky. Suddenly, the air pressure aggressively drops. The wind shifts violently, whipping through the Israelite camp. In the ancient Near East, the Canaanites worship a false idol named Baal, whom they believe controls the storms and the rain. God is about to prove exactly who actually controls the weather, and he is going to use the enemy's favorite environment right against them.
Barak! Look at the sky!
Barak looks up. The bright, sunny day has completely vanished. Massive, unnatural black clouds are boiling over the horizon, completely blocking out the sun. The temperature plummets. Down in the valley, Sisera finally stops laughing. He squints, looking up at the sudden darkness, completely confused. Then Deborah said to Barak,
Go! This is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. Has not the Lord gone ahead of you?
This is the moment of absolute faith. Against all military logic, against all tactical training, Barak raises his wooden staff and orders a completely unarmed infantry to charge down a steep mountain directly toward 900 tanks.
For the Lord! Charge!
10,000 Israelites pour down the slopes. But before Sisera can even issue the order to attack, the heavens break wide open with a deafening roar. It is not a normal rainstorm. It is a torrential, violent deluge. The sky releases a massive wall of water. The dry dirt of the Jezreel Valley instantly turns slick. But the real danger is the water rushing down the steep mountainsides. Millions of gallons funnel directly into the dry ditch of the Kishon River.
No! Stop this! I beg you, make it stop! Move the chariots! Whip the horses! Get to higher ground!
It is too late. The Kishon violently overflows. A flash flood surges across the valley floor, crashing directly into the Canaanite front lines. The rushing water carries heavy debris, rocks, and sticky mud. Sisera's ultimate advantage becomes his ultimate curse. The heavy iron plates make his chariots sinking anchors. The thin, spiked iron wheels bite deep into the rapidly forming mud. The more the terrified horses struggle, the deeper the metal sinks. The entire Canaanite war machine is paralyzed in less than a minute. They cannot turn. They cannot charge. They are entirely stuck. And rushing out of the heavy rain, completely unburdened by heavy metal armor, are 10,000 highly motivated Israelite men.
Do not let a single chariot escape! Break their lines!
The battle is absolute chaos, but it is entirely one-sided. Canaanite soldiers slip violently in the deep mud, physically weighed down by their heavy, wet armor. The Israelites, wearing light, cloth tunics and armed with simple wooden clubs, move easily through the muck. The simple farming tools Sisera mocked are now the exact perfect weapons for close-quarters combat in a swamp.
Push them out! You cowards! Push the wheels! Move!
Sisera screams at his drivers, but the iron axles are buried completely underground. The deafening rumble of iron wheels has permanently been replaced by the panicked splashing of trapped men. At Barak's advance, the Lord routed Sisera and all his chariots and army by the sword. The Lord fights for Israel, perfectly neutralizing the enemy's greatest weapon without a single Israelite sword being drawn. The foot soldiers abandon their sinking vehicles and try to flee, but the thick mud makes escape impossible. The invincible army is completely shattered. Commander Sisera, the man who spent the entire morning boasting, suddenly realizes he is going to die. He abandons his army to save his own life. Sisera sprints frantically toward the neutral territory of the nomadic Kenite tribe, believing he will be safe in their tents. He has absolutely no idea he is running directly into the exact trap Deborah prophesied. Exhausted, covered in mud, and completely terrified, Sisera finally staggers into the Kenite encampment. He approaches the tent of Heber's wife, a woman named Jael. Jael went out to meet Sisera and said to him,
"Come, my lord. Come right in. Don't be afraid."
So he entered her tent, and she covered him with a blanket. Sisera collapses onto the floor. Jael acts incredibly hospitable. Instead of water, she gives him a drink of thick, warm goat's milk to naturally make him drowsy, then covers him up.
Stand at the doorway. If anyone comes by and asks if anyone is here, tell them no.
Jael walks quietly to the edge of the tent. In ancient nomadic culture, setting up and tearing down massive, heavy animal skin tents is exclusively a woman's job. Jael is a master builder. She silently picks up the two tools she uses every single day of her life: a heavy wooden mallet and a long, sharp iron tent peg. She creeps silently back over to the sleeping commander. With absolute precision and steady hands, she fulfills the word of the Lord. The great general who terrorized Israel with iron is finally stopped by a single piece of tent equipment. Minutes later, Barak arrives at the Kenite camp, breathless from the chase. Jael steps out of her tent and quietly leads him inside. Barak looks down and realizes the impossible war is truly over. Just as Deborah prophesied under the palm tree, the ultimate glory of defeating the great commander did not go to a mighty general, but to a courageous, quick-thinking woman. Because of this impossible victory, the terrifying cycle of Canaanite oppression is completely broken. The land of Israel will finally rest, experiencing 40 beautiful years of absolute peace. Deborah's story proves that God does not need invincible iron tanks, elite soldiers, or wealthy kings to save the day. He loves to use the exact people the world completely overlooks. A faithful judge sitting under a palm tree, a terrified farmer holding a wooden walking stick, and a nomadic homemaker armed with a tent peg. When you are facing your own massive, terrifying battles, you don't need to have the biggest weapons. You just need to have the courage to step onto the battlefield and let God fight for you. Congratulations on reaching the end of the story. You have earned the Fearless Judge badge. If you have the courage to trust God against impossible odds, comment "God fights for me" down below to claim your badge.
Hi guys, these videos take many hours of hard work. If you could, please like the video and subscribe. Also, we want to see which countries our videos reach. If you could, please comment which country you're watching from. It'll truly help us. See you till the next video.